You wake up before sunrise. The world around you is still dark, but already the air feels warm against your skin. Even during the night, ancient Egypt never truly cools. You open your eyes slowly upon a woven reed mat laid across the hard dirt floor. Your body aches from yesterday's labor, and from the day before that, and the day before that. A faint orange glow flickers weakly from the dying remains of a small oil lamp near the wall. The tiny mud brick house around you is silent. Outside, you hear the distant sound of insects drifting through the darkness beside the Nile River. The smell of dust and dry earth fills the air. You sit up slowly. Your skin already feels sticky from sweat. Soon, the brutal Egyptian sun will rise once again, and another exhausting day will begin. You step outside barefoot into the cool early morning sand. For a few brief moments, the temperature feels almost pleasant. The village around you slowly wakes from sleep. Other workers emerge silently from their homes. Nobody speaks very much this early. Most people are too tired. The narrow pathways between the mud brick homes are covered in fine dust. Palm trees sway gently in the warm wind. In the distance, the Nile River glows silver beneath the fading moonlight. The river is everything here. Without it, there would only be desert, only death. The Nile feeds the crops. The Nile gives water. The Nile decides whether families survive or starve. You walk slowly toward a small clay table beside your doorway. Breakfast waits for you there. A rough piece of barley bread, a few onions, and weak beer mixed with water. In ancient Egypt, beer is often safer to drink than river water itself. You tear away a small piece of bread and chew slowly. Tiny grains of sand crunch softly between your teeth. You barely notice anymore. Everyone eats like this. Your stomach is never truly full. Hunger follows you every day of your life. As the horizon slowly brightens, the first sunlight spills across the desert. Golden light stretches over the Nile. And suddenly, the temperature begins rising quickly. The coolness of morning disappears within minutes. Already, sweat forms across your forehead. The village becomes louder now. Animals move through the dusty roads. Children carry baskets. Workers begin walking toward the fields beside the river. Others prepare for construction work beneath the endless Egyptian sky. You begin walking with them. The ground outside the fertile riverbanks is dry and cracked. Beyond the Nile, there is only endless desert stretching toward the horizon. The air grows hotter with every passing minute. Your simple linen clothing clings uncomfortably against your skin. Flies buzz constantly around your face. The smell of mud, sweat, animals, and river water fills the morning air. As the sun climbs higher, the heat becomes almost oppressive. You finally reach the fields near the river. Hundreds of workers already labor beneath the rising sun. Some plant grain. Some carry water. Others cut crops beneath the burning heat. Everyone works slowly. Not because they are lazy, but because the heat drains the strength from the human body. You bend down into the wet soil beside the Nile. Mud presses between your fingers. The water feels cool for only a moment before the heat returns again. Hours pass slowly beneath the Egyptian sun, very slowly. The sunlight grows brighter and harsher. The pale desert sands reflect light in every direction. Your eyes burn. Sweat drips constantly down your face. Still, the work never stops. Nearby, another worker pauses briefly from exhaustion. His breathing is heavy. His body shakes from fatigue. But after only a few moments, he returns to work once again. Because survival depends on labor here. If you stop working, you stop eating. In the distance, massive stone structures rise against the horizon. Gigantic temples, enormous statues, pyramids that seem to touch the sky itself. Future generations will call ancient Egypt magnificent, beautiful, powerful. But for ordinary people, life is often brutal. Most families live in tiny homes. Most workers remain poor their entire lives. Most people will never travel beyond their village. Your world is small. Work, heat, dust, hunger, survival. As midday approaches, the temperature becomes almost unbearable. The sunlight presses against your skin like fire. Breathing itself feels difficult now. You wipe sweat from your face again and again, but your skin never truly dries. The sound of insects hums endlessly around the riverbanks. Birds circle high above the Nile, and somewhere far away, a temple bell echoes softly through the heat. You finally stop working for a brief moment beside the water. The Nile flows quietly before you. Palm trees move gently in the hot wind. For a moment, everything feels peaceful, almost beautiful. But even the Nile carries danger. Crocodiles hide beneath its waters. Disease spreads through dirty water and insects. Parasites enter the body through wounds and cuts. Many people suffer from sickness constantly. Fever, blindness, infections. Ancient Egyptian medicine exists, but it is primitive. Priests often combine medicine with prayer and magic. People believe the gods control suffering itself. If sickness comes, perhaps the gods are angry. Perhaps fate itself has turned against you. The sun continues burning overhead, and slowly you rise once more to continue working beneath the endless Egyptian sky. By the middle of the day, your stomach already aches again. The small piece of bread from sunrise disappeared hours ago. Hunger follows you constantly in ancient Egypt. It becomes part of life itself. Most ordinary people never feel truly full. You sit quietly beside the Nile with several other workers. Nobody speaks very much. The heat drains energy from every conversation. A woman nearby slowly pours weak beer into small clay cups. The liquid is warm, thick, cloudy, but it helps dull the hunger for a little while. In ancient Egypt, beer is consumed every single day. Even children drink diluted versions of it. Clean water is never guaranteed, and sickness hides everywhere. You lift the cup slowly to your lips. The taste is sour and bitter, but you drink anyway, because there is little else. Beside you rests a small meal wrapped inside rough cloth. A few onions, some dried figs, and another piece of coarse barley bread. Simple food, the same food eaten almost every day. For wealthier Egyptians, life is very different. The rich eat honey, duck, fresh fish, sweet fruits, roasted meat seasoned with herbs. But ordinary workers rarely experience such things. Most families survive on grain alone. And when the Nile floods poorly, even bread becomes scarce. The river controls everything. If the floods are weak, the harvest fails, and hunger spreads quickly across the land. Entire villages suffer when crops disappear. Children become thin. Families trade belongings for food. Some people steal simply to survive. You tear away another small piece of bread. Dry crumbs fall into the dust beside your feet. Tiny grains of sand crunch softly between your teeth again. You barely notice anymore. The warm wind carries the smell of mud and river water through the air. Nearby, workers rest silently beneath strips of shade made from cloth and palm branches. Everyone protects themselves from the sun however they can. But the heat reaches everywhere eventually. Sweat covers every surface of your skin. Flies gather constantly around food and faces. You hear coughing nearby, a deep, painful cough. Sickness spreads easily among crowded villages near the Nile, and medical knowledge remains limited. Most people rely on herbal remedies, magic rituals, prayers to the gods. People believe invisible forces shape everyday life. If crops fail, perhaps the gods are angry. If sickness arrives, perhaps evil spirits walk among the living. Fear lives beside hunger constantly in ancient Egypt. As afternoon approaches, you leave the riverbank and walk toward the village marketplace. The roads are crowded now. Merchants call out from beneath woven shades. The smell of animals, sweat, spices, and dust fills the burning air. Small baskets of garlic and onions sit beside clay jars of oil and beer. Thin dogs wander between the crowd searching for scraps. Children run barefoot through the dust. You pass fishermen repairing torn nets beside the river. Their skin is darkened by years beneath the Egyptian sun. Fresh fish hangs drying nearby. For richer families, fish may become part of tonight's meal. But not for everyone. Many workers cannot afford meat or fish regularly. You continue walking slowly through the crowded market. A wealthy noble passes nearby, surrounded by servants. Clean white linen clothing covers his body. Gold jewelry reflects the sunlight. For a brief moment, the difference between lives becomes painfully obvious. Ancient Egypt is powerful, magnificent, but not equal. Most of the beauty future generations admire was built upon exhausting labor and survival. As the sun continues burning overhead, the smell of bread drifts from a nearby clay oven. Fresh flatbread emerges slowly from the heat. The scent alone makes your stomach ache harder. You exchange a few small goods for another loaf. Food is precious. Nothing is wasted here, not even crumbs. As evening slowly approaches, the temperature finally begins to soften. Long shadows stretch across the dusty roads. The golden sunlight becomes deeper and calmer. Families slowly return home, carrying baskets and jars through the village. You return to your own mud brick home beside the Nile. Inside, the air remains warm from the heat trapped inside the walls. You sit quietly beside a small oil lamp. Dinner is simple once again. Bread, beans, a few dates if you are fortunate. Perhaps lentils cooked slowly inside clay pots. Nothing more. You eat slowly in silence. Outside, the sounds of the village continue drifting through the darkness. A baby crying, distant laughter, the soft sound of river water moving beside the shore. For a moment, the world feels peaceful, but deep inside, you know tomorrow will bring the same struggle once again, the same hunger, the same heat, the same endless fight to survive beneath the Egyptian sun. Your body grows heavier with exhaustion, and slowly, beneath the warm night air of ancient Egypt, another difficult day comes to an end. The sun hangs high above ancient Egypt, heavy, blinding, relentless. By now, your entire body aches from exhaustion. Your shoulders burn beneath the endless heat. Your hands are rough and cracked from constant labor. And still, the work continues. In ancient Egypt, survival belongs only to those who keep working. You walk slowly beside dozens of other laborers through the dusty construction grounds near the river. Massive stone blocks lie scattered across the earth. Some are larger than entire homes. Men strain together, pulling heavy sleds through sand using thick ropes twisted from plant fibers. Every movement demands enormous effort. Sweat pours constantly from their bodies. Muscles tremble beneath the weight. The sound of scraping stone echoes endlessly through the hot air. Supervisors stand nearby, watching carefully. Nobody moves quickly anymore. The heat drains strength from every living thing. You grip the rope tightly beside the others. The fibers cut painfully into your hands. Slowly, the massive stone begins sliding forward across the sand, only a few feet at a time. But even that feels unbearable. Your breathing grows heavier. Dust fills your mouth and throat. Nearby, another worker collapses to his knees from exhaustion. Nobody stops for long, because everyone understands the truth. If the work stops, punishment may follow. For poorer Egyptians, life often revolves entirely around labor. Some work the fields, others build temples and tombs for kings and nobles. Some become servants inside wealthy households, and some become slaves. Slavery exists throughout ancient Egypt. Prisoners of war, criminals, the poor desperate enough to sell themselves for survival. Not everyone wearing chains is born a slave. Sometimes, hunger itself becomes the chain. You look toward the distant pyramids rising against the burning sky. Future generations will admire their beauty, their perfection, their mystery. But few will imagine the exhaustion hidden behind every stone, the endless labor, the broken bodies, the years spent beneath the crushing Egyptian sun. Your feet sink slightly into the hot sand with every step. Blisters cover your skin. The simple linen clothing hanging from your body no longer protects you from the heat. Flies gather constantly around sweat and wounds. Some workers quietly whisper prayers beneath their breath while pulling stone. Prayers for strength, for survival, for rest. The gods are everywhere in ancient Egypt, inside temples, inside homes, inside the fearful minds of exhausted workers. People believe the gods watch every action, every mistake, every act of disobedience. Fear controls as much as power itself. Hours continue passing slowly, very slowly. The sunlight never seems to weaken. Your body feels heavier with every movement. The world around you almost begins to blur beneath the heat. You finally stop beside a half-finished stone structure. The surface of the limestone burns beneath your fingertips. Nearby, workers carve symbols carefully into the stone walls. Hieroglyphs meant to honor kings and preserve names forever. But the names of ordinary workers are rarely remembered. Most people vanish into history silently, forgotten, their lives consumed by labor and survival. A warm wind moves across the construction site, carrying dust through the air. In the far distance, you hear the soft sound of drums echoing from a nearby temple ceremony. For a brief moment, the rhythm almost feels calming, but the illusion disappears quickly. Another command is shouted across the work grounds, and once again, the labor begins. You bend down beside wooden tools and baskets filled with stone fragments. Your entire body feels weak now. Even lifting small objects becomes difficult beneath the endless heat. Nearby, a young worker barely older than a child struggles carrying water jars across the sand. Children work early in ancient Egypt. Most families need every possible hand to survive. Rest is rare. Comfort is rare. Exhaustion becomes normal. As the afternoon slowly continues, long shadows finally begin stretching across the desert. The sunlight softens slightly, but the pain inside your muscles remains. Your hands shake from fatigue. Dust clings to every part of your skin. And still, there is one final task before nightfall. Several workers gather beside another massive stone sled. You take hold of the rope once more. Your arms burn instantly. The heavy stone barely moves at first. Then slowly, inch by inch, the sled slides forward through the sand. The sound of strained breathing fills the air around you. No one speaks anymore. There is only exhaustion now. Pure exhaustion. Above you, the sky begins turning orange beneath the setting Egyptian sun. At last, the work finally ends for the day. Workers release the ropes and stand silently catching their breath. Some collapse directly into the sand from fatigue. Others stare quietly toward the Nile, glowing beneath the evening light. Nobody celebrates. Everyone knows tomorrow will be exactly the same. The same heat, the same labor, the same endless struggle to survive. You begin the slow walk back toward the village beside hundreds of other exhausted workers. The warm evening wind moves gently across the desert now, and for the first time all day, the air almost feels peaceful. Night slowly falls across ancient Egypt. The brutal heat of the day finally begins to fade. A cooler wind drifts softly beside the Nile River. But even as darkness brings relief, fear never truly disappears. In ancient Egypt, disease is everywhere. You hear coughing from nearby homes as you walk slowly through the village. A child cries somewhere in the darkness. An old man lies motionless beneath thin linen cloth inside a mud brick house. The smell of smoke, sweat, sickness, and river mud fills the warm night air. Most people do not fully understand illness. Fever arrives suddenly. Infections spread quickly through wounds and dirty water. Parasites enter the body through the Nile itself. Some people slowly lose their sight. Others grow weaker each day until they can no longer work. And when a worker can no longer work, survival becomes almost impossible. You sit quietly beside a small oil lamp inside your home. The weak flame flickers against the clay walls. Outside, the sounds of insects hum endlessly beside the river. You think about death often here. Everyone does. Death feels close in ancient Egypt, closer than sleep itself. Workers die beneath the heat. Children die from sickness. Farmers die during failed floods and famine. Even the wealthy fear death constantly. But ancient Egyptians believed death is not the end, only a transition, a doorway into another world. Priests speak endlessly about the afterlife, about judgment, about the soul traveling beyond the world of the living. People believe the gods watch every human life carefully, especially Osiris, god of the dead, and Anubis, guardian of tombs and protector of souls. One day, your own heart will be weighed before the gods. At least that is what the priests teach. If the heart is pure, the soul may enter eternal peace. But if the heart is heavy with evil, it may be destroyed forever. These thoughts follow people constantly, even during ordinary life, even during sleep. Nearby, a funeral procession moves slowly beside the Nile beneath torchlight. Family members carry offerings of bread, flowers, and jars of beer. Soft chanting drifts through the darkness. The dead must be honored properly. The rich prepare enormous tombs filled with treasures, golden objects, food, furniture, jewelry, everything believed necessary for the afterlife. But poor workers rarely receive such burials. Most ordinary people disappear quietly into the desert sands, forgotten by history. Still, everyone hopes the soul survives. You step outside your mud brick home once more. The night sky above ancient Egypt is endless. Thousands of stars glow softly above the Nile. The river reflects silver moonlight across the darkness. For a moment, everything feels calm, almost peaceful. But fear remains hidden beneath the silence. Fear of sickness, fear of hunger, fear of angering the gods, fear of death itself. The wind moves softly through the palm trees beside the riverbank. Somewhere far away, you hear temple drums echoing faintly beneath the stars. The sound drifts slowly across the sleeping villages of Egypt. Mysterious, ancient, almost haunting. You close your eyes for a moment. Your body feels weak from exhaustion. But tomorrow, the same struggle will begin once again. The same labor, the same hunger, the same fear. And yet, life continues beside the Nile, just as it always has, and just as it always will. Slowly, the oil lamp inside your home burns lower and lower. Darkness fills the room. The sounds of the village begin fading into silence, and beneath the endless stars of ancient Egypt, another fragile human life drifts quietly toward sleep. The night grows quieter now. The endless heat of the Egyptian day has finally disappeared into darkness. A soft wind moves slowly across the Nile River. Palm trees sway gently beneath the moonlight, and for the first time all day, the world feels calm. You sit quietly outside your small mud brick home. The sand beneath your feet still holds warmth from the fading sun. Far away, the waters of the Nile shimmer softly beneath the stars. The river never truly sleeps. It continues flowing endlessly through the ancient world. Quiet, patient, eternal. Small oil lamps flicker beside nearby homes. Their orange glow dances softly against the clay walls. Most of the village has already fallen asleep. Exhausted workers lie silently beside dying fires. Children sleep beneath thin linen cloth. Even the animals have grown quiet now. Only the sounds of insects remain beside the riverbanks. A slow, endless hum drifting through the darkness. You close your tired eyes for a moment. Your body aches from labor. Your hands still burn from stone and rope. But tonight, there is finally rest. The stars above ancient Egypt stretch endlessly across the sky. Bright, clear, beautiful. For thousands of years, people beside the Nile have looked upward at these same stars. Farmers, workers, priests, kings, all living beneath the same ancient sky. The wind carries the distant scent of river water and desert sand. Somewhere far away, soft temple drums echo faintly through the night. Slow, rhythmic, almost hypnotic. The sound drifts gently across the sleeping villages beside the Nile. Your breathing becomes slower now, calmer. The fears of the day begin fading into darkness. No burning sunlight, no labor, no shouting. Only the peaceful sound of the Nile moving quietly through the night. The river reflects silver moonlight like flowing glass. Palm leaves whisper softly in the warm wind, and high above, countless stars watch silently over ancient Egypt. Tomorrow, another difficult day will arrive. The heat, the hunger, the endless work. But for now, the world feels still. Your body sinks slowly into rest. The soft night air moves gently through the cracks of the mud brick walls. The oil lamp burns lower and lower until only darkness remains. The Nile continues flowing endlessly beside the sleeping world. Ancient, silent, eternal, and slowly, beneath the stars of ancient Egypt, you drift quietly into sleep.